more excellent are more syllogistic, and adapted to procure persuasion. Besides, it is absurd that it should be shameful for a man not to be able to give assistance to his body, and that it should not be shameful for him not to be able to assist himself by the reasoning power, which is more the peculiarity of man than the use of the body. If, however, it should be objected that he who uses unjustly the rhetorical power may injure others in a great degree, this objection is common to every thing that is good, except virtue, and especially to the most useful things, such as strength, health, riches, and military command. For he who uses things of this kind justly, may benefit others in the greatest degree, and by using them unjustly may effect the greatest injury. That rhetoric, therefore, is not conversant with one certain definite genus, but resembles in this respect dialectic, and that it is useful, is evident. It is likewise evident that the employment of rhetoric is not to persuade, but to perceive on every subject what is adapted to procure persuasion, in the same manner as in all other arts. For it is not the business of medicine to produce health, but to do every thing as much as possible which may procure it, since the healing art may be well exercised upon those that are incapable of being restored to health. In addition, likewise to what has been said, it is the province of the same power to perceive what is persuasive, and what appears to be so, just as it is the province of dialectic to discern what is a true, and what is only an apparent syllogism. For the sophistical art does not consist in the power of reasoning, but in deliberate choice, except that here indeed, viz. In the rhetorical art, one man will be a rhetorician from science, but another from deliberate choice. There, however, viz. In dialectic or logic, the sophist indeed is from deliberate choice, but the logician is not from deliberate choice, but from the power of reasoning. CHAPTER 2. Now, therefore, we shall endeavour to speak concerning the method itself, i.e. the rhetorical art, and show how, and from what particulars we may be able to obtain the end proposed by this art. Again, therefore, as if defining from the beginning, let us discuss what remains. Let rhetoric, then, be the power of perceiving in every thing that which is capable of producing persuasion. For this is the employment of no other art, since each of the other arts is doctrinal, and persuasive about that which is the subject of its consideration. Thus, for instance, medicine is doctrinal, and persuasive about that which is salubrious and morbid; geometry about the properties accidental to magnitudes; and arithmetic about number. The like also takes place in the other arts and sciences. But rhetoric, as I may say, appears to be able to survey about any given thing what is adapted to produce persuasion. Hence, also, we say, that it does not possess an artificial power about any certain peculiar definite genus. With respect, however, to things which procure credibility, some of them are without art, but others are artificial. And I call those without art, which are not devised by us, but exist prior to all artificial invention, such as witnesses, questions, writings, and other particulars of the like kind. But those are artificial, which are capable of being procured methodically and by us, so that it is requisite to use the former, and discover the latter. Of the credibility, however, which is procured by argument, there are three species. For one kind indeed consists in the manner of the speaker, another in the disposition of the hearer, and the third in the argument itself, in consequence of demonstrating, or appearing to demonstrate. Credibility, therefore, is procured through manners, when the oration is delivered in such a way as to render the speaker worthy of belief. For about every thing, in short, we believe the worthy in a greater degree and more rapidly. But in those particulars in which an accurate knowledge cannot be obtained, and which are ambiguous, we entirely confide in the decisions of the worthy. It is, however, requisite that this also should happen through the oration, and not entirely from any previous opinion respecting the speaker. For we must not admit what some teachers of rhetoric have asserted in their art, that the probity of the speaker contributes nothing to persuasion, since nearly, as I may say, manners possess the most powerful and principal credibility. But credibility is procured through the hearers, when their passions are influenced by the oration. For we do not similarly form a judgment when we grieve or rejoice, love or hate ; to which species of credibility we assert that those who now deliver the art of rhetoric, alone direct their attention. Each of these particulars, however, will be elucidated by us, when we speak concerning the passions. But belief is produced through arguments, when we show what is true, or appears to be true, from the probabilities pertaining to the several objects of enquiry. Since, however, credibility is effected through these things, it is evident that to obtain the three species of it above mentioned, is the province of him who is able to syllogize, who can survey what pertains to manners and the virtues, and in the third place, what pertains to the passions, what each of them is, what quality it possesses, and from what particulars it is ingenerated in the hearer, and how, so that it happens that rhetoric is as it were something which grows upon dialectic and the discussions concerning manners, and it is just to call it political. Hence, rhetoric assumes the form of the political science, and those who profess it do so partly through ignorance, partly from arrogance, and partly from other human causes. For it is a certain particle and resemblance of dialectic, as we observed in the beginning of this treatise. For neither of them is the science of any thing definite, and which shows how a thing subsists, but they are certain powers of procuring arguments. And thus we have nearly spoken sufficiently concerning the power which they possess, and how they subsist with respect to each other. With respect, however, to proof either real or apparent, in the same manner as in the dialectic, one kind is induction, another is a true syllogism, and a third is apparent syllogism. Thus also, similarly in rhetoric, for example, indeed is induction, but enthymeme is a syllogism. But I call enthymeme indeed a rhetorical syllogism, and example a rhetorical induction. All rhetoricians, however, who procure belief by the proofs which they adduce, effect it either by the examples which they bring, or by enthymemes, and in a certain respect there is nothing else besides these. Hence, if in short it is necessary to point out any person or thing by syllogism or induction, (but this is evident to us from the Analytics), it is necessary that each of those should be the same with each of these. But what the difference is between example and enthymeme is evident from the Topics. For there syllogism and induction are previously discussed. Because if it is shown in many and similar things that what we assert is true, there indeed it is induction, but here it is example. When, however, certain things existing, something else besides happens from these, because these subsist either universally, or for the most part, when this is the case, there indeed it is called syllogism, but here enthymeme. But it is evident that each form of rhetoric is benefited by these two. For the like to what we have observed in the methodical treatises takes place also in this treatise. For some orations are of the nature of examples, but others are enthymematic. And in a similar manner, with respect to rhetoricians, some are delighted with examples, and others with enthymemes. Arguments, therefore, from examples are no less calculated to persuade than others, but those from enthymemes cause greater perturbation. But the reason of this, and how each of these, viz. Of examples and enthymemes, is to be used, we shall hereafter explain. Now, however, let us more fully and clearly discuss these very particulars themselves. For that which is persuasive to some one. And one thing, indeed, is immediately of itself persuasive and credible, but another because it appears to be proved through things that are credible. No art, however, speculates that which is particular. Thus, for instance, medicine does not speculate what is salubrious